Shall we just begin, sir? Listen, teacher, shall we begin, teacher?
Okay, Jyotis sir, okay.
Hello, everyone.
Light okay ano?
Light okay, teacher. Light okay. That's enough. Thank you, teacher. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Joju from Martha Plus Training College and the coordinator of the research wing of Martha Plus Training College. Now, warm welcome to everyone on behalf of our principal, management, staff, and students, especially the research scholars. You are in the 51st Insight In-Depth program. And today's program is an eye-opening program because of two reasons. Lissy teacher is the resource person. Dr. Lissy is my teacher. It's from Dr. Lissy that I draw inspiration always. An amazing teacher, an epitome of commitment and quality. Thank you, teacher, for your presence. We are really proud to welcome you to this platform once again. And your first talk, the happiness mantra, is very fresh in all our minds. And the next reason why today is an auspicious day is this. The topic is highly significant. The secret of teacher excellence and teacher creativity. And our dearest Lissy teacher would be talking from her own journey as a teacher and teacher educator. And this talk and today's session would definitely inspire all the participants. It would be beneficial to the budding teachers. So we would like all of you to share the poster and the link to your colleagues and all your students and your alumni as well, so that we shall grow in our commitment towards nation building. Welcome everyone. It would be a great honor if you share the poster and link. That's a great noble venture, definitely. Now, the platform is yours, research scholars.
Thank you, sir. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Yes, our first step of our Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series was on 18th August 2020. By the grace of the Almighty and by the blessing and guidance of our principal, Dr. K.Y. Bendick, sir, and our research coordinator, Dr. Juju Jones, sir, we completed our 50th talk last week. Thank you so much, each and everyone who was and is a part of our Insight In-Depth and making our journey a successful one. Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to our 51st talk of Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series hosted by the research wing of our prestigious Martha Plus Training College. Excellence through divine illumination is our vision. Thank you for finding time and being here. Myself, Sanla Manoj, research scholar, Martha Plus Training College. Prayer is the link that connects us with God. Let us begin our meeting by seeking the blessing of Almighty with a prayer. Please be paused for a while.
ഏതൊരൂപത്തിലാകിലും ഇന്നും ശക്തി ഞങ്ങളിലേക്കണേ. മക്കളാം ഞങ്ങൾ ദൈവമേ, ലോകത്തിൽ ആരെയും സ്നേഹിക്കാം, നല്ല ജീവിതം ശീലിക്കാം, ഭൂമിയെ സ്വർഗമാക്കിടാം. വിണ്ണിൽ വാഴുന്ന ദൈവമേ, മണ്ണിൽ ഞങ്ങളെ കാക്കണേ. ആപത്തൊന്നുമില്ലാതെ ആയുസ്സേകി നയിക്കണേ.
Thank you, everyone. Before we start, let me humbly remind for something for the smooth conduct of our meeting. Please mute your audio to avoid any distraction. If you have any queries related to them, please type them in the chat box. After the talk by a resource person, there will be a deliberation time. At that time, you can unmute your audio and express your views and clarify your doubts regarding today's topic. This meeting is being recorded and it will be shared through our MTTC official YouTube channel. The link will be shared through the Indepth WhatsApp groups. Feedback form will be shared through the chat box only at the end of the meeting. Only those who submit the feedback form will receive the e-certificate. The e-certificate will be received within 2 days through the email ID which you entered in the feedback form. I humbly request everyone for your kind cooperation. Thank you. May I now invite Mrs. Smriti S. Pillai, Research Scholar, Multi-Plus Training College, for the welcome address. Over to you, Smriti ma'am.
Thank you, Sanla. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good evening, one and all. It's give me great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to everyone who has joined to this virtual platform for the 51st Insight Indepth Talk series hosted by the research wing of Marthophilus Training College. First of all, I welcome Dr. K.Y. Benedict Sir, Principal, Marthophilus Training College, whose efficient leadership and guidance has helped the college to excel in all the endeavors. I welcome you, sir, with great respect. Today, we have an eminent personality, Dr. Lissy Koshi ma'am, Assistant Professor in Education, Mount Carmel Training College of Teacher Education for Women, Kottayam, who will be speaking on the topic Secret of Excellence in Teaching. We welcome you, ma'am, to this program with great pleasure. Welcome, ma'am. Let me also welcome our research coordinator, Dr. Jojo Jones sir, to this program, who is a constant source of motivation. I welcome you, sir, to this program. Finally, let me welcome each one of you, teachers, research supervisors, research scholars, beard and AMED students, and all our well-wishers from inside and outside our country to yet another enriching session. Welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Smriti ma'am. Our topic for today is Secrets of Excellence in Teaching by Dr. Lissy Koshi ma'am, Associate Professor, Mount Carmel College of Teacher Education for Women, Kottayam, Kerala. This is the second time ma'am is with us. In our 25th talk, ma'am shared the happiness mantra with us. It was a great pleasure to having you, ma'am, here. Let us know more about ma'am. Let me invite Mrs. Vincy Biju, Research Scholar, Marthophilus Training College, for introducing our guest of honor. Please, Vincy ma'am.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanila. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, honorable dignitaries and dear participants. It's my tremendous pleasure to introduce the guest of honor for the 51st Insight Indepth Invited Talk series. We are privileged to have an eminent scholar and a noted educationist, Dr. Lissy Koshi, Assistant Professor from Mount Carmel College of Teacher Education for Women, Kottayam. Ma'am has 32 years of teaching experience, including 11 years of higher secondary school and 21 years in B.Ed College. Ma'am was awarded Doctorate in Education from Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur in 1998. Her area of research is cognitive development. Ma'am is a registered research guide of Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, and also course content writer for postgraduate diploma program in education. To add on her laurels, she was awarded Vidya Rath Puraskar for the contribution to the field of education in 2017. She has in credits 46 research papers published in various educational research journals. Ma'am has been a practicing counselor for the past 21 years and taking classes on parenting and adolescence for the past 17 years. Ma'am has been training teachers in schools of various levels and forums of district resource group and state resource group for teachers of higher education and vocational higher secondary schools for the past 18 years. Ma'am has participated in more than 50 seminars and 21 webinars. As a resource person, Ma'am has addressed the Oxford University Press and many seminars at national, state, and district level. We are honored that Ma'am has accepted our invitation as a resource person for today's program. Thank you, Ma'am. Thank you so much, Ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sanila, Sanila, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Lissy teacher, 1 second. I would like all the participants to switch on the video, if possible, to take some screenshots of the program. For 2 minutes, if possible, kindly switch on your video. Hello, friends, please. Sanila, you can carry on now. Sanila, you can carry on now.
Sorry, sir.
Now you can carry on with your instructions and you can welcome teacher. Meanwhile, I will take 2 screenshots.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Vincy ma'am, for such a great introduction. We are fortunate to have such a great person as our resource person. With a great gratitude, let me invite you, ma'am, for expressing your valuable views about the secrets of excellence in teaching. It will be a great asset for us because most of us belongs to the teaching community. Over to you, Lissy ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanila, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Just a minute, let me share my slides.
Dear participants, kindly pin Lissy Koshi ma'am's presentation, please. Thank you.
Video. Is my slide visible?
Yes,
Just
ma'am,
the-
it's visible.
Okay.
Please make it in the slideshow mode, ma'am. Please,
Yes.
thank you.
Perfect, teacher. Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a generous appreciation and the warm welcome. And I'm blessed to be re-invited to your Insight in Depth Talks series. Thank you so much. In the very outset, I think I should start with a story. Once there was a wise old man who lived in the heights of Himalayas. This wise old man used to come down the mountains to a village where he would be sought after for taking advice or for making decisions and all. People used to revere him because he was very knowledgeable and he had some special blessing. For small children, they would carry something in their hands and they would hide it and ask the wise old man to predict what they were holding in their hands. One day, a child wanted to trick this old man and to prove him a fraud. So what he said, he told his friends that he'll be holding a bird in his hand one day and he'll ask this wise old man to predict what he had held in the hands. The next month, the wise old man comes down the mountains and this boy, ready with his prank, comes with a little bird in his hand, hides it in his back and asks the old man, "Dear old man, can you predict what I hold in my hands?" He said, "Yes, son, you have a little bird in your hand." The boy asked, "Now can you tell me whether it is a dead bird or a live bird?" And he had already decided that if the old man says a live bird, he would immediately crush the bird in his hands and prove him wrong. And if he says that it is a dead bird, he would free off his hand and let the bird fly away. And again, he would be proving the old man wrong. So then to the next question, whether the bird is alive or dead, the old man paused for a while and said, "Son, it is as you choose it to be." And that was a really wise answer to which this boy was taken aback. Now, why I say this story to you is the power is in your hands. God has given us so many gifts. He has blessed us, bestowed us with so many gifts. Our lives, our abilities, our profession. And what we do with it is as we choose it to be. It is we have to decide. The old wise man said, "The bird is as you choose it to be." And this sentence is very important. It's a pertinent sentence for teachers. For every child that goes through our hands, it is the way we choose it to be that determines his future. I want to focus your attention on how crucial or how important our interaction with the children are. We need to make a difference. One day we all are gone, isn't it? That's the truth. Now, that is for certain that we will be gone. And what should we be remembered as? What would you like to be remembered as? A teacher who made a difference? I think so. I think I would like to be remembered as a teacher who made a difference. A teacher with a difference. And as Jojo sir had already said, Sanila ma'am had already said that I have 32 plus years of experience. And through my journey as a teacher, what I have filtered out or what knowledge I have gathered or what the crux of my experience, what it says, I've listed them out and I would like to present it to you so that it becomes an easier journey for you. If I give you some ready mantras, I think that would make you a more efficient teacher. And many of these points you may be already well aware of, but still bringing it into practice is that which counts. We know we are loaded with lots of theories. All the research scholars, all the MEd and BEd faculty, all the practicing teachers, we all are very well aware with so many different theories and practices, pro and research work and all. But how much of it do we apply in our daily life? That is important. So small changes in our behavior, small changes in our practices may make a difference in our profession, which will make you a much more efficient teacher. And I also want to include some of the anecdotes of my journey as a teacher, which has taught me some things. I would be sharing that in between. One thing I always feel is important is use multiple modes, multiple ways of presentation. If you may want to make a difference, always think out of the box, as the public says. Thinking out of the box or making something new, presenting the same thing, the old wine in a new bottle, that's the thing. So in a classroom, imagine you are addressing a class of 40 or 50 students. You should make a point that it should not be a continuous teacher talk for more than 7 or 8 minutes. After every 7 to 8 minutes, give some task to the students, make them speak, give them some activity. You know, if you are giving an activity to 15 to 20 students in our class, not only the performers, even the observers are learning something from it. So it is through the learning process, the whole class is traveling through a learning process. So don't think that you are giving an activity only to 15 or 20 of them, the rest of them are sitting idle. No. They are also observing. Ask them to be keenly observant. Let them learn from that. And then we can have some exercises to recapitulate what they have got out of it. Make it sure that they have some take-home learning, something new. After every class, they should be left out with something new they have learned. That is something we should be very particular about. And above all that, before every class, every session, which I have been practicing all through these 32 years, I'm telling you, each time I step into the class, I have a small prayer in my mind. Lord, make this class effective enough, or let these students who are listening to me, who are going to participate in today's interaction, take home something new. May it be of some use to them. At least something should be learned by each student. That is something we have to take care of. And then the atmosphere. The atmosphere should be of a social support. Every individual child should be feeling that I am wanted here and I can be of help to somebody else. That kind of that value has to be cultivated in the class. And each time, whatever be your subject, now independent of your subject, each time integrate such values into your class. That can be done. Now, the science teachers may think, how can I relate a chemistry reaction with being socially supportive group? It's not that. You can have a demonstration, you can have a discussion, and you can make the students do some activity. Always cultivate a value that I am wanted in this class and I can be of help to somebody else. Someone else is ready to help me. Teacher is always with me. That kind of assurance has to be there to create an atmosphere of social support. A good happiness quotient has to be there. As I have taken the earlier session about the happiness mantra, you have to be very particular that you maintain a good happiness quotient among your class. So after each class, let them learn something. As Paulo Freire always says, it should not be a banking system of education. Now, teaching is not about filling in vessels. It is about igniting a spark in the minds of the learner. Igniting a spark, that is important. It is not filling in the empty vessels, as Paulo Freire says. So, and again, I want to add something to it, is that the teacher needs to be extremely flexible. You have a class of 50 means 50 different personalities. Everyone is different. Individual differences are there in our learners. So accept them as they are. And then it's not a one size fits all type of thing. So you have to be flexible so that your class is learner centered. So plan your lesson in such a way that each child learns at least something from it. Now, we had earlier, before 2019, we had the offline sessions. Then when the in the crucial period of pandemic, we had the online sessions, and now we are left with our new reality, that is the hybrid methodology. Now, what is the hybrid methodology? It is a new approach, and what I do with hybrid methodology, how I practice is I make sure that I don't do what you did in the traditional classes. Make something new. You are building up both. You have a combination of three: the physical environment, the learning and teaching, the human content, and the technical environment. These three are blended together to give a fine hybrid methodology. And now, when I say don't do what you had been doing in the traditional classes, the thing is, don't focus continuously on the academics, don't focus continuously on the content. The thing you have to focus more, because your children need to be placed somewhere, particularly the students who are coming for B.Ed trainees and all. They have to go through this course, they get a B.Ed certification, and finally they need to be a good teacher. And if they need to be selected into a reputed school, it's in the job market, it's not only the academics. We very well know it's not only the academics which is counted for, it is the skill. And this is the platform when we have to train them and sharpen their skills. The same thing holds good for the school education. Skill training is very pertinent for teachers. Skill training is important. So focus on skills. Whatever be the topic, be so well prepared that you focus what kind of skills you are training. The next is be focused, that you are learner centered, be flexible, and understand your learner. Be a very keen observer. As I have been observing Insight in Depth, I have been attending so many webinars. Of course, I have missed out many of them, but still I try to attend most of them. So what I have observed as a group, you are a really dedicated and active group. You share your responsibilities each time. So that kind of feeling needs to be there. That kind of a relationship needs to be there, cultivated, so that it goes higher. Now, different approaches. When I say don't repeat what you had been doing in the traditional classrooms, what do I mean by that? Simple things, simple tips you can do is, some flipped classroom is very common. Now it is quite common in most of the training colleges. At least teachers are practicing it. It is totally reversed. The lecture and the homework elements are being reversed, and the problem solving or problem based. Earlier we used to give solutions to problems. We would give there would be some questions in the textbook, and we would be giving them the answers either in writing, or we'd be discussing the points to be written, and the students were ready with the answers. Now it is problem based, where we are posing the problem, and next they are solving it. The child is in the position of a problem solver. This is a very good thing. Each time I keep experimenting different methods. Even for this new batch of my B.Ed students, I'm experimenting this. The flipped classrooms, the problem based. I find that when the students are coming from different streams, one child is MSc chemistry, the other one is MA sociology, so different disciplines. So they have been trained, or they have been undergoing courses which is totally academic, and now they are coming to a general approach of how to be a good teacher. So when we are dealing with the pedagogy, or when we are dealing with the content, I always try different experiments. This time I was trying out last week I tried out flipped classrooms, problem based learning, and I find that this kind of approach, the synchronous and asynchronous delivery, that is, synchronous means when you give some content, or you give a small lecture, or you are giving some presentation, you may be using some PPTs and all, but after that you are giving an assignment or an activity to the children where the students are learning together. That is synchronous, right? And when they are learning individually, it is asynchronous, and both can be done. Both can be done in alternate forms. It can be done. That helps to be more interactive and more reflective. For example, I give some material. I give a short lecture on formal, informal, and non-formal forms of education, and then I give them just a glimpse of it or just a base of it. I just discuss the characteristics of these three, and then I give some learning material, study material to them, and then I ask them to study this, to read it out, and discuss it with your bench mate. Maybe I'll divide them into small groups, 3 or 4 of them. Should not be very big. Always effective mode will be having 4 to 5 students, so maximum 5 students in one group. So small group discussions, and then after each of them go through the study material individually, they come to a discussion. It is not that directly they go into group discussion. So I ask each one of them to go through the material, come out with what they have got from it, and then discuss it in the group. So what happens is everyone will be presenting in their own perspective. They would be linking it with some real life situation. I always ask them to connect it with real life situation or give some examples to support it. And we are just surprised to see the level of creativity of our students, how well they present the things. So it is always, remember, it's not the teacher knows it all. Many a times students will be presenting it in a better way, much better way than what we would be doing. So leave some space for creativity of the students. Learning and teaching, as I told you, different methods, flipped classrooms or problem-based, synchronous or asynchronous designs. Other than that, the more modules, the more methods you use, the more stimulus variations you have in the class, better will be the teaching process. If I ask you, how many of you practice? How many of you are teachers here? I don't know actually, because are you all students or are you practicing teachers?
I'm a teacher, ma'am.
Right.
My name is
All the
Harsha. I'm a
teachers,
teacher.
students, research scholars, everyone are there, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Your name is Asha, teacher?
Yes, ma'am. Harsha.
Harsha. Okay. What level do you teach?
High school, ma'am. 9th and 10th.
Good. So what is your take on what I said? These alternative methods of teaching rather than the traditional ways of teaching. What is your take on flipped classrooms?
No, whatever you said is absolutely right, ma'am. In between, we have to give certain activities to the students. And as you said, myself, I like maximum time, I'll be making them to do many activities like poster making, group discussion, debate, etc.
Good.
Otherwise, they will be bored with the teaching as well as learning.
Yes.
What you said is absolutely right. We can't continue with prolong the teaching for at least, I think, 10 or 15 minutes. I think the attention span of the student is there. After that, they will get distracted. I'm absolutely, I'm there with you, whatever you said.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, teacher.
Okay.
So
Yes.
we can give them study materials. It can be a hard copy or even it can be PDF. Give it to a soft copy to the students. If you create a WhatsApp group, it's very easy nowadays. So in a hybrid classroom, you can give some PDF. If today, actually, what I do is tonight I'll be sending some notes to them, and then I'll just say you just have a read of it, and I'll give a detailed explanation tomorrow morning. Next day morning when I go, I just give an explanation of the thing which I sent them last night. So they will be having, when now because it's the new batch, they'll be much more curious and they will be much more active. So they usually, most of them have a read of that notes, and then they are more absorbed into learning about it rather than directly me going and teaching. And then I'll get some feedback from them. I give them some hard copy. They'll be discussing it, and they even last week they had for Vedic, Buddhistic, and medieval period of education. I taught the whole thing. I had some group discussions. All these things I did. Flipped classroom and all those things, synchronous, asynchronous, everything was followed in different bits, small bits. And then I asked, one day you will be presenting. I divided the whole class into 3. Okay, and one group will be presenting Vedic education, the characteristics of Vedic. The other one will be picturizing the Buddhistic, and the other one will be demonstrating the medieval period. And they did it so beautifully. I didn't expect them to be so creative or so expressive. So with whatever they could arrange, it was not a high level presentation, just with whatever costumes they could arrange, with whatever the accessories they could arrange, they presented it very beautifully. So all the characteristics is very clear in the minds of the students. So I'm sure that even if they are asking an essay for the university exams, my students will be writing it perfectly, because all the points are very clear in their minds now. So the effectiveness, the what I want to say is, every topic needs to be taught in its own specific way. There's no fixed method for each topic. It's a teacher's creativity. Now, based on my journey as a teacher, I would be sharing some things which I have learned. One thing which is very important is our communication. Our language should be simple. It's not that if I have a very rich language, I use all the words which I know to the students who merely understand English, right? So we have, depending on the population, there's a statement which I tell my students on day one itself. I tell my trainees, to teach John Latin, you should know John as well as you know Latin. Because you are a Latin teacher, you need to be a subject expert of Latin. But that is not enough in itself. You need to know John, whom you are teaching. That is a very important mantra of effective teaching. Remember, the child should be understood very well. We have to find some time to understand the learner. So that is important. So you have to, first of all, we must have an idea of their level. Now, what level of language they can take. If I speak like Shashi Tharoor, which I can't, but still I'm telling you, if you are imagining a teacher to be speaking in that level of English, and the listeners are not able to follow anything what he is saying, then what's the use? The listeners should also have some level of vocabulary, so that we are able to follow it. So it should never go ahead of audience's understanding. That is what I want to convey. I hope it is clear. If I am teaching in Malayalam, it should be simple Malayalam. If I am teaching in English, the thing is, it should be lucid. It should be clear to the students. That is the thing. Be a very good listener. Sometimes you learn a lot from your students. That is what I have experienced. We learn a lot things from our students, their perception, their feelings. It is much of these things can be grasped if you listen to them carefully. Cultivate some empathy. Our students, maybe, every student has a story to be shared, though most of them don't share depending on the teacher's nature. But what I have experienced it is that most of the students have something to be shared. Maybe they appear to be damn happy. And remember, mind it, those students who appear to be most happy will be most painful in their heart. That is what I have observed. And then some students will be academically very rich, but ethically they may be very poor. They may be fighting different struggles. So understanding the learner, to whom are you talking, that counts, that makes a difference. So be very careful when you communicate. Make yourself available, make yourself accessible. You appear like a friend to your student, a guiding friend, a helping friend who is always with them. That kind of feeling has to be there. Then that is the only condition when you can win your students. And for teachers, our assets are our students. That is what I believe. Through all my journey, I feel my assets are my students, because their love and their positive kind of affection is something which is very precious to me. I'm very proud to add that Jojo is my student. I have taught him in a B.Ed, and I feel very proud to be his teacher, because God has blessed me enough to be his teacher. He's so much, God has been very benevolent on him with all the blessings. So thank God. Now, another thing is, cultivate some empathy, then ignore, you have to include all. The teacher's approach should be including all. Don't ignore anybody. Don't neglect anybody. Maybe a child is very disturbing in your class. Pay much attention to him. Develop a one-to-one relation to him with him. Then you will win him. Try to understand him. Avoid prejudices. Some teachers may say that, this boy is, he'll be always creating some trouble. Just avoid him. Just leave him off. Never have such prejudices, because he may be having some painful stories to be shared. Once it is shared, he is cool. He is the best in the class. So that is what I have found in from my experience. You should have an organized communication, and your communication needs to be articulated. It has to have some continuity. It has to have some sense. It should make the audience attracted towards listening to you, and try to relate yourself with your child's life position, in what ego state he is. I hope you understand the ego state. I am talking with reference to transaction analysis. So try to understand the life positions of your students. Accept the differences. There are students who are always creating trouble. Our only thing that, every child is your cup of tea. You have to drink it. Whether it is too sweet or too bitter, you have to drink it. Just understand your student is your cup of tea. So you have to accept him or her. And now note the differences, accept the differences, and carry him, lift him to a higher level. That's all. So we have always some room for improvement. All these years, I have tried to improve myself on my teaching skills based on the feedback I get from my students. Every year I collect a feedback from my students on my, particularly I ask them to write my negatives so that I can work on it and become an improved person. So I try to improve. Each year I try to improve, but there is always room for improvement. So we should never be overconfident, and you should never be, lacking confidence. You are worth, every child is worth something. And over anxiety about your performance will make you lose your memory, your performance, your efficiency will be lesser, isn't it? Now, I shall share one of my experiences. When I was I was doing my B.Ed, I was very, very afraid of going into my first class. And then I had, my topic was KIPS apparatus. I was teaching the preparation of H2S gas. And, that was the first, it was not the first class actually. It was the first time we are being, I am being evaluated by my head of department. So the head of department, the teacher, my mentor teacher, all of them would be attending that class. And that was making me too much anxious. I had a lot of, charts, models, even working model, static model, everything was ready with me. But I was so tensed that as soon as the head of department and my mentor teacher took the last bench seat that was kept aside for them, they came into the class, they took that last seat. I was so much anxious, I was so much tensed that while I was taking the class, instead of asking, my question, what I had written in my lesson plan was, what is the chemical in the last bulb? There are 3 bulbs in KIPS apparatus, and I wanted to know whether the children have got what's the chemical in the last bulb. Out of my tension, out of my stress and anxiety, my question came out as what is the chemical in the last bench? And most of the students were turning back and they were looking who is sitting in the last bench, what is wrong with this teacher and all. And I was not able to, I repeated the same question 2 or 3 times, and I was not getting the answer. And I'm tense that my internal marks would be cut short because they have come for my supervision. And again I said, come on students, what is the chemical in the last bench? That is the time when I recognized that no, it's not the bench, it is the bulb. So anxiety loses our performance. It brings down our performance. So overstress should be avoided. I had attended a course in guided imagery. It was from Michigan University. A MOOC course was provided. So I had attended guided imagery. That has helped me a lot. What they say, suppose you are going to address a an audience of 1,000 audience, and you know that these audience are very skilled, very professionals are sitting to just listen to your talk, that makes you anxious. Somewhere some kind of tension creeps into your mind, whether will I be performing well enough, how will my performance be, and all these things, kinds of anxiety creeps into your mind. Your performance lowers down. So in order to fight that, this guided imagery has got one idea. What I got from that course is, you imagine yourself after doing that task in a successful platform. You imagine yourself to be in a successful position, that you have overcome this difficult time and you have succeeded. The difficult time right now for me is to address 1,000 audience, 1,000 people, and it can be, you are fighting a case in the court. That can be a difficult time. For every individual, difficult times may be different. For an adolescent, a very big issue may be a pimple on his or her face. They consider that as a very big serious issue, which their mothers or fathers may not be able to relate to. Different serious. Now, what I mean to say is, if you are facing some challenge, some serious issue which needs to be solved, there's no use getting tensed. Stress will always make our performance come low. So what guided imagery taught me is that after when you find that some stress is creeping into your mind, imagine yourself to have overcome that challenge and you have reached some position of satisfaction. That brings in some confidence in you. So that is something which we can tell our students to practice. Performance anxiety always decreases our efficiency. And another thing which I feel, as a student, I have observed this thing: dedication, commitment, and subject mastery. These are the basic prerequisites for a teacher. Remember, dedication, commitment, and subject mastery. These three things make a good teacher. Once we had, a teacher who used to come in our higher secondary school. I had a teacher who used to come to the class and say, today we'll be learning about halogens, and in halogens we have fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and so this chapter is over. This was the coughing teacher. We used to name her, we had already labeled her as a coughing teacher. She would just come, write the name of the topic or the lesson on the board, have a 3 or 4 cuffs, and then say that the topic is over. That is somewhere we are lost. We don't know the subject. We are not able to learn about it. We don't have some guidance and all. So that is a point when I realized that dedication is a must for a teacher. Commitment must be there. Maybe she's lacking subject mastery. That's why she's withdrawing or avoiding such situations. So these three things, remember, dedication, commitment, and subject mastery are a prerequisite for a teacher. And another incident which I remember is, in that class, in this chemistry teacher's class, one boy was turned out because he was very naughty, and he was turned out of the class because this teacher had no patience. She may be lacking some subject knowledge, or some problem was there because of which she would never take a complete lesson. Some 2 or 3 sentences she would say and then cough out. That's all. So this boy was creating some problem, and she turned out this boy out of the class. And as usual, that was a common thing for that boy. He kept playing in the ground when he found a lamp there. He carried that lamp and pushed that lamp into the classroom. And this was creating a great chaos in the class. The students were running here and there. The teacher was much disturbed. So what do you feel in such a situation? Who is to be blamed? The question is for the audience, please. Can you listen? Can you listen what I'm saying? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Engage the students well enough.
In such a situation, who is to be blamed? The student or the teacher?
Teacher.
Definitely, it is the teacher is to be blamed, because the teacher has to decide the behavior of the classroom. If we have this dedication, if we have this commitment, if we have this strong subject knowledge, I think the lamb would never have got into the classroom. The boy would never have been turned out of the classroom. Maybe students behave in such a way that we feel like kicking him out of the classroom, but that is not it is not the way a teacher has to behave. We have to behave with a level of maturity. So immature students have to be dealt with some love, some care. So engage the learners in the class. Engage them pretty well. Make sure that your students learn concepts while they are in the class itself. Before they leave the class, if I am teaching Vedic education, they should be sure about what Vedic education is. If I'm teaching, Gabney's hierarchy of learning, they should be, by the end of the session, they should be having at least some idea. The poorest child, the academically poorest child must get some idea of the content by the end of the class. That is a teacher's efficiency. I had a student when I was working in the +2. I was a higher secondary school student for some while. And I had a student who was totally negligent about what is going on in the school. He used to be absent many of the days, and even if he is there, most of the teachers would turn him out of the class. And then this was his biology practical examination. This boy knew nothing about what is to be written, and in biology there is something called spotting. I think 2 minutes time is given to for each specimen. There will be, I think, 5 or 10 specimen will be kept, and these students have to pass from one table to another. They have to identify the specimen through the microscope. They'll have to identify the slide, and they have to name the family and species, something like that. So I was free. I'm a chemistry teacher. My lab was free. So I went to this biology teacher just to spend some time in the lab. And I was observing what is happening there. This boy, I said earlier, the content was totally new to him. The subject is totally new to him on the day of the examination. So what he was planning was to copy down from his neighbor's notebook. But the tables were arranged about 1 meter gap was there between the tables. So he was not comfortable peeping out. He asked his friend, what is the family name to be written here? And the friend is saying Convolvulaceae. And this is a tricky term. That is the name of some family in biology, in some plant kingdom. So he said, what? This word was totally new to this boy. He said, what? He said, Convolvulaceae. You just don't ever confuse me. Just tell me how many times this vulval has to come. That is what this boy says. For him, Convolvulaceae has got many vulval in that, and how many vulvals are the thing he has to be clear about. So these are the level of the children. Even on the day of examination, this is what the level of many of the students is. We need to understand the level of the learner. That is what I want to put across. We need to understand the level of the learner. And when I had some examination invigilation duty for some smaller classes in an examination day, I had an invigilation duty for some small class, and then there was an elephant passing by through the street, and one of the students, while writing his exam, just dropped down his pen, and he was very interestingly peeping out of the window looking at the elephant. Now the way he is peeping out, as if some great precious thing is coming there, and he has just forgotten that he's writing the examination. One of his friends says, what are you doing? Write the examination. Time will be out now. He says, exams will come every day. You won't get such a sight. So for him, that sight is much more precious than the examination. He says, teachers will give us re-examination. That is not a problem. But you can't see such an elephant walking, in a mighty animal walking through, passing through this road so near to you. So every child has his own philosophy of life. He has his own way of thinking. His priorities are different. Understand the child. I don't mean you have to go by the child each time, but try to understand the way they think. Understand your students. Be a friend to them. Be a guiding friend, a well-wisher. And many a times, this, if you are a male, the fatherly love, or for females, the motherly love may prevent disasters. in the lives of the students. I had this student in my training college experience. I had this student who had one day she comes and she is always there. Always she asks for some free time to be discussing some problems of or issues in her life. One day she says she has an affair. For the last 6 years, she has been having an affair, and she finally calls me and says that I've decided to marry him. That was many a times I think that was a wrong decision, and now it is more clear that it was a totally wrong decision. What is the teacher's intervention here? As a teacher, how can you help prevent the disaster? If your child is so free with you to ask an opinion, ma'am, one student I remember very well, she too had a 6-year-old affair, and finally she comes to me and says, give me an advice, should I marry this boy or the new proposal? So they are asking advice because they are not in a position to take a final decision. It's a decision for life. If it's a decision which will not affect you beyond 5 years, it doesn't matter, but it's a lifetime decision. It's a very important decision. So sometimes students approach you to help them or guide them take a decision. The right decision must include God's intervention. Remember, it should include God's intervention. It has to use human intelligence. You have to use human intelligence. Don't be blind for that. Infatuation is misunderstood as love many a times for this younger generation. So you have to be a guiding friend, as I told you earlier. So a logical thinking has to be there before making a decision. Then I told you that marriage was a failure. This 6-year-old affair that has turned now to be a failure, and that student has told me that whenever you go to take classes, miss, please tell my story to others so that this story is not repeated again. She repents having married such a blunder. He was a total fraud, and then now they are being separated and all. That's another part of the story. What I want to tell you is, as a teacher, it is not necessary that a child is the star of the class or the star of a college or very academically brilliant, or maybe co-curricular activities and all, they are very brilliant, all these things. Tragedy can come anyway, anytime. So the thing is, you have to be guiding the students towards taking right decisions. At least you can prevent some disasters. As I told earlier, academically rich and ethically poor. This is one of my students who shared her life with me, her life incidents with me. She was having the same such similar problems, and then she had been, that was a complicated case. She had 4 lovers, and finally she marries the 5th one. So this could be avoided if she would have shared the story when these things started to any teacher when she was young. These things could be avoided. So teacher has to stand as a pillar, as a support, as a friend. So every student has some story to share. Learn to understand your students. I had this student who is the only child of a widowed mother, and they are financially very poor. And this girl, her mother is paralyzed. This girl cooks the food and bathes her mother, keeps her clean, hygienic, and then feeds her mother. She is totally bedridden. Feeds her mother, cleans her. All these things have to be done by her only. And then she comes to attend the BA classes. I really feel proud to be her teacher. She was such an exemplary student. Struggles and fights was a major part of her life, but still she never lost her positivity. She always was nobody can make me lose. I will be a winner one day. And today she is placed in a very good school as a teacher. She's very happy. her mother passed away. But I'm telling you, there are some students, she used to be quite rude when she talks with her neighbor, with her classmates and all. So there may be students who are rude, who are rough, but there is some bitter story behind it. So try to understand. Put your, if we extend our hands to understand, that the journey will be much more easy. One of my trainees, while they were having the teaching practice, one of my trainees came and shared this experience that in a PTA, there was a PTA meeting. Before that, she came and shared an experience that one of her students in the class, one of her students was very disturbed. He chose to be lonely in the class. He chose to be silent in the class and all. And he was a very poor student, academically too poor. He used to score very less marks. He used to fail in the examinations. And this trainee selected him for this case study. So she had some close talks with him, and then he broke into tears and he says that my mother passed away and my father has remarried, and this stepmother is very rude to me. That is what is disturbing him. So the trainee was so taken aback, and so she was furious for the stepmother. She came and shared this experience with me. I said, just wait, you are having the PTA meeting, so just go and find out who is his mother. On the PTA meeting, the mother comes. The trainee talks to her, and says that he is having too much painful heart and all, and he misses his mother. So I think he should be given the same kind of love a mother should give the child and all. So this woman she was confused what the teacher is talking about. Then finally she could realize that this child has said that she is his stepmother. She was so shocked when the teacher said that these things. She was so shocked that finally, actually the truth was that she was his real mother. Sometimes this happens. The students fool you in such an emotional blackmail, and all these things are there. So always there will be two stories, and then there will be a third real story. So be watchful, particularly with the students, the present day students. So what I want to tell you is, whoever dares to teach must never cease to learn. There's a saying in Hindi, सीढ़ियां उन्हीं को मुबारक हो जो छत पर जाने की तमन्ना रखते हैं. The ladder is for those who want to climb and reach the terrace, but वो अपना रास्ता खुद बनाते हैं जो आसमान छूने की तमन्ना रखते हैं. Those who want to reach the skies make their own path. I wish each teacher, each of you, make your own path and decide for yourself what kind of teacher you want to be. It is as you choose it to be. जो बनाए हमें इंसान, सही गलत की दे पहचान, जीवन जीना सिखाते हैं, सारे रास्ते बंद होने पर नया रास्ता दिखाते हैं, वही सच्चा गुरु कहलाते हैं. What it means is, those who make us real humans, those who make us realize the way we go wrong, and those who help us to live a real life, the life to the fullest, as the greatest teacher Jesus has said. Then and when all the doors are shut, the person who shows you a new way to reach your goal, he or she is the real guru. So with these words, I want to conclude my session about secrets of excellence in teaching. And I thank Mar Theophilus Training College, Dr. Joju John, Dr. Benedict, and all the staff, the research scholars, MEd and BEd students for listening to me and having given me another chance to be with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a great and delightful presentation. It is very much useful for all of us. Your life experiences, your thoughts, your views, everything help us, because most of us related to the teaching field, and B.Ed and M.Ed students are there, research scholars are there. All will be having such a great experience because of this talk, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. It is the deliberation time, dear participants. It is the time for air your opinions and views regarding today's topic. The stage is open for everyone. Please. Thank you.
Good evening, Lissy ma'am.
Good evening.
I'm really touched with your words. Each and every word is like, I can relate it because I had been a teacher since not more than 6 or 7 years. And definitely, I totally agree with each and every word of yours. And thank you so much for such a wonderful and beautiful session. I just, enjoyed it.
Teacher.
And I'm looking forward if we can have more sessions from you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Lissy teacher, as
Yes,
usual,
sir.
it was really stunning, teacher. You have encouraged all of us to be more creative in the classroom, and your stories of life are really inspiring, and we owe our gratitude, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me another chance to be with you all. Thank you, sir.
It's our pleasure, ma'am. It's our pleasure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Babu sir, you have raised your hand. Please, you can unmute yourself and talk. Thank you.
Are there any queries in the chat box? Sanil?
No, sir. No queries. Everyone is appreciating and giving thanks. Thank you, sir. I checked, sir. Everyone is appreciating and giving thanks to ma'am. No queries, ma'am, sir. Thank you.
Sanila, make sure you copy the chat.
Lissy madam, congratulations for your excellent presentation. There
Thank you,
were
sir.
some kind of interruptions due to many other calls and other connected activities parallel to your presentation from my phone. I couldn't attend the whole session in a series. But I just meanwhile I just noticed one of your point that you underwent a MOOC course from one of the foreign university. From that you mentioned a kind of idea, elaborated a kind of idea. If possible, you may be able to give a little more elaboration of the concept for the benefit
Yes, sir.
of the participants.
I assure, sir. It's about guided imagery, and that was a certificate course which I did from some university. It was I did it from through Coursera, and it actually, the basic idea is, if there is some challenge which is disturbing you, in any challenge in your life, any stress in your life which is disturbing you, you have to place yourself in a position where you believe that that challenge has been overcome, and now you are in a successful level, you are in a successful platform. That kind of, you have to imagine yourself in that kind of situation. That brings in us a strong positive energy, a strong and inner confidence in you to face that challenge. That is the basic thing I have learned from that course, that certificate course of guided imagery. That means they have given many ideas, but the basic thing which I consider as a take home virtue is, that is what I use always in my life.
Whether that practice or concept has some kind of similarity with the process of scaffolding that we usually speaks in our class.
So scaffolding is something different. Scaffolding, the teachers scaffold the students towards reaching their goal in any kind of teaching learning activity, or even their life problems, while dealing with their life problems. But that is, this one, guided imagery, is only one approach in scaffolding. That is only one approach in scaffolding. If you want to perceive in that manner. So guided imagery will only be one single approach. That is not all of it. It is only a method in which you can build in some confidence in a person, so that you are imagining yourself as having overcome that challenge or that stress or that period of anxiety.
Okay,
Thank
whether the guided imagery in which the guidance is self-guidance or someone else from
No,
outside.
it has to be self. It has to be self. We have to train ourselves. We have to train ourselves to overcome that stress.
Okay, it's a kind of auto suggestion.
Yes, 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 right, sir.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
teacher.
sir.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one question in the chat box by Eduprabha, ma'am. Can I read, ma'am?
I can't
Can I
find
read,
any.
Lissy, ma'am?
I didn't find. Can you read it out?
Yes, ma'am, please. I will read, ma'am. Ma'am, usually the syllabus is quite time bound. So how to find enough time to attend a personal issue that a student may be facing?
You know, that is where hybrid method or hybrid approach finds use. That is where a hybrid, because as I told you, what I am practicing right now, I give some study material. If I have to take a class tomorrow morning, I'll be giving some study material today. So we are left with some time there. We are saving some time. And other than that, after the class, after the classroom interaction, you call that student personally, talk to him in your free hours or in the interval time, and then after the school hours, definitely you will be talking over the phone. That is how you can share the problems. That is how I do it personally. My students call me personally, they come to me and ask for some time, they share their problems, and whenever we have some common slot, we discuss it in the campus, and if it is after that, we discuss it over the phone. That is how I do it. Of course, we lose lot of our personal time, that is there. Am I clear, sir?
Thank you
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much. On that question, actually, it was like if a personal issue of the student, not just related to that subject or the topic, if it is maybe, as you mentioned in your a few stories, that they are having some personal problems, they might want to discuss, but due to the regular curricular schedule that we are supposed to deal with, we usually do not find time. So is it in the PTA meetings or separate sessions that we can hold, because that is not there in the timetables?
I didn't hear the last part of your question. Is it?
Ma'am, so like the students should be available in PTA meetings also, like how
If
to.
the situation demands, it's not necessary that the students be brought to the PTA meetings, but sometimes, if depending on the situation, on the nature of the problem, we may have to bring the student also there.
In class PTS, we can permit the students also to be seated along with their parents. But in general
For
PTA,
general instructions, if it is a group counseling or such things, you can bring the students also in the class. But if it is some serious issue, those things need not be discussed in the class as in common public.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful talk today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Dr. Baby Shakila, ma'am, you have raised your hand. If you want to say something, please unmute yourself and talk. Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, kindly unmute yourself and you can.
Mr. Babu Palakal has raised his hand, sir. Please.
Hello, Benedict sir.
Hello.
Benedict sir. Hello, Benedict sir. Shall
Yes,
we
we
move
can move
towards
to
the
the
conclusion, sir?
next item, please. Please.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, research scholars. Move towards the vote of thanks, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Gratitude is the attitude that takes us to the greater altitude. Now it's the time to express our gratitude. Let me invite Mrs. Sindhu Ezara, research scholar, Matthew Plus Training College, for proposing the vote of thanks. Over to you, Sindhu, ma'am.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am,
Sanila.
please.
Am I audible? Respected Principal Dr. K.Y. Bendick, sir, the Research Coordinator, Matthew of List Training College, Dr. Jojo John, sir, our most valued invited guest of the day, Dr. Lissy Koshi, ma'am, teachers, research scholars, students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank Dr. Lissy Koshi, teacher, Associate Professor, Mount Carmel College of Teacher Education for Women, Kottayam, for sharing in her simple, eloquent, and clear language the importance of understanding the topic, the secrets of excellence in teaching. Ma'am, thank you for your very thought-provoking and interesting address. Next, I would like to express our deep gratitude to our principal, Dr. K.Y. Bendick, sir, for initiating this Google platform, Indepth, through which we have not only gained knowledge, but also have had the opportunity to interact with great personalities and great visionaries. Thank you, sir. This program continues to attract and keep the attention of all those who join this program, mainly because of one person, our research coordinator, Dr. Jojo John, sir. Thank you, sir, for your unstinting support. Thank you, ANSI teacher, for all the technical support. Finally, let me thank each and every one of you, teachers, research scholars, research guides, students, and all who have joined this program from all over the country. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sindhu, ma'am. Dear participants, please fill the feedback form. The link is shared in the chat box. E-certificate will be received within 2 days in the email ID which you have entered in the feedback forms. Thank you so much for your valuable participation. Please join us on next week for another great webinar in our Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series. Thank you so much. See you all next week. May God bless you all. Stay safe. Thank you once again. Now, we have come. Thank you so much, Lissy ma'am. Thank you so much. We are deliberately waiting for your next section, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now we have come to the end of the webinar. If possible, please stand up for the national anthem. Thank you.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.